I work on a stoplight consent system.
Okay.
So consent is a big part of the kink and swinger communities. You talk about things. You talk about boundaries. You do not touch without permission. You don't. It's very respectful.
Yeah.
I like that about that.
Yeah.
For me, and I'd say for most doms, we don't necessarily enjoy inflicting pain. Like if they're not having a good time, if they're in a kind of pain that isn't cathartic or pleasurable, or there's not some kind of purpose to it, it's kind of gross and cringy.
You're listening to Shall We Unpack This? With your host, Leilani Carrasco.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the SWAT podcast. Last week I had my friend Kay on, and she shared how she got into domination, how she became a dominatrix here in Texas. And this week she will be sharing with us how she uses this practice to help people. With that said, right off the bat, I wanted to clarify that BDSM is not synonymous with abuse. One thing that's been so insightful about this interview is just how much consent, pre-planning, communication is involved with BDSM and any sort of kink. Abuse is usually pushing you against your will, pushing your boundaries, not even adhering to your boundaries. So if you're in a situation where you are not being heard or you are being hurt against your will, that is abuse. That is not BDSM. So I just wanted to put that out there, make sure everyone is staying safe and taking care. Later on in the episode, there will be a rope demonstration, which can be difficult to portray on a podcast platform. But if you're watching on YouTube, it will make a little bit more sense. So with that said, let's get to the interview. If someone has low self-esteem and they hire you to help me work through this trauma or this mindset, how do you go about with being in charge? How does that work?
It kind of depends. Usually there's sort of an agreement.
Okay.
And those kind of situations, it's called power dynamics.
Okay.
Right? So if you are looking to explore your submissive side, you would look for a dom, like male or female or whatever. Or if it just depends on what you're being drawn to, I guess.
Okay. And so do you have like a checklist or an application? Like, would you like to focus more on these things? Is there a consultation?
I've done that some. Usually I can just do like a video chat with somebody, and we just kind of talk.
Yes.
At first, and then we kind of figure out where to go from there. Read the energy. Sometimes people think they want one thing. They have these fantasies or whatever that they think that they want, but I'm be like, no, you've got childhood trauma. Hold on.
Okay.
Let's try this. Or
okay.
You just kind of feel it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I would think that the importance of ground rules, or just kind of like we mentioned earlier, you create this container so people can kind of bounce against those walls. Do you have like a set of upfront rules? Like what are your upfront rules?
We'll see how to put that. I don't do any kind of jobs.
Okay.
Yeah. And once it's called setting up a scene. So depending on what kind of situation you're, like let's say rope play.
Okay.
They want to do a rope scene and, feel what it feels like to be suspended and like become like hanging art. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it also takes a lot of trust. You need to find somebody that knows what they're doing and make you feel comfortable. So kind of talk about it, and maybe look at the work of the other person,
Yeah.
and then we would just kind of agree to different terms. I work on a stoplight consent system.
Okay.
So consent is a big part of the kink and swinger communities. You talk about things. You talk about boundaries. You do not touch without permission. You don't. It's very respectful.
Yeah.
I like that about that.
Yeah. I would think you'd have to be very intentional about communication. Like, is this okay? Or you just have to be very present, I would think.
Yeah, you really do.
Wow.
A good dom can read the situation, read the energy. The best ones I've known anyway are kind of like that. They just are intuitive. Yeah. So,
have you ever hired a dom and been their submissive just to see how they work and kind of be a student?
no, it wasn't really, there was nothing like that available around here whenever I got involved.
Yeah.
That was it. Like I was the only one for There was one other dom around there. I can't remember her name. Mistress Winter or something like that, I think. But I never met her. I'd reached out to a few people, but because of the legal situation in Texas, people were not wanting to like share information. They weren't wanting to like meet up or put themselves in any kind of situation.
It's not like you can just kind of look them up in the phone book.
Sure, let me teach you how to take my money. Let me teach you how to take my clients. It's just it's more common now.
True.
And one of the kind of big things now is domina classes. So like I know a few people who like have a group of professional dominatrixes and they get together at Airbnb for the weekend and everybody learns how to kind of like do certain little basic stuff and kind of explore different personalities in within the BDSM kind of matrix. Is that a thing? Yeah. So the mommy dom thing.
Yes.
It's almost like different different personas, right? So I think the best doms, male or female, are the ones that just kind of amplify their natural energy.
Okay.
I'm a kind of healer, mothering type of raise kids, and I love just giving people experiences that are nurturing and beneficial. Healing. Kind of. So there's like, I guess, mine is called a mommy dom, but there are also like the very strict ones that are more into pain or certain kinds of play, like puppy play.
Well, the first thing I think of is like a whip. So like I'm like, are those the mean ones? And you're more of like the let me swaddle you.
They're kind of more sadistic, but for me, and I'd say for most doms, we don't necessarily enjoy inflicting pain.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good thing to know because again, it's like that you hear people say, well, why would you want to inflict pain on someone or why would you want to receive pain?
There are some people that do enjoy it, but if you're a sadist,
yes, that's
then
true.
you get off on that.
Yeah.
For me, the way that I feel people, like if they're having a good time, it's like amplified and it's just like this flow back and forth and I get pleasure from it. And it's the other way too. Like if they're not having a good time, if they're in a kind of pain that isn't cathartic or pleasurable or there's not some kind of purpose to it, it's kind of gross and cringy, and I'm in control, so I'm going to guide this situation in a way that is best for both of us, and I think that's kind of that's my little thing, I enjoy it. I enjoy what I do because I can steer it in a way that makes it interesting and fun for me too.
So a lot of it seems like it's not so much there's some basics you can learn, but it's really how you read energy
and your interests.
Yeah.
Like, there are some areas, when you're professional, you kind of have to cover a lot of different things, try a little bit of this and that so that, you've got more available on your menu or, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So I got to kind of, buffet mode it and tried a bunch of different things here and there. And you kind of develop a set of specialized skills.
Yeah. So have you ever tied somebody up and they start freaking out and then you just kind of have to go, abort.
Yeah.
Like, okay. All right. So, and then that's understood that, okay, I'm not going to make you sit there and suffer because I am a dominatrix. You're going to be, I guess there's this fine balance too of being held and feeling like there's a container to collapse against and let down. And then there's the, okay, too far, and now I feel trapped.
Well, with that power dynamics that we were talking about, there is kind of this understanding that they are giving you their power in exchange for you guiding them. Like, it's kind of like you're going on a hike in the Himalayan mountains. You're going to hire a guide that's going to take you to this path that you think you want to go on. But there may be things on the road that aren't fun. And, the guide is going to maybe take you in a little bit different direction and keep things on track. So it's kind of like, kind of like an energetic guide.
An energetic guide.
Yeah, kink guru.
No, I have heard some people say, like, kink is a demeaning word, or we are no longer using the word kink.
What?
Is that still I mean, that seems like an acceptable word.
I like it.
Maybe because it has too much shame connotations where it's like, ooh, you have a kink, or like.
I embrace that shit. If it's counter-religious or sacrilegious or whatever, makes me happy. I think, like, if I have a kink, that's probably it. Religious kink, because, we tend to, being able to sexualize a trauma turns it into a kink.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So with, well, it's not always a trauma. Sometimes it's first awakenings, like whenever you hit puberty and you've got a teacher and she likes to wear stockings and all of a sudden you're like hiding your book in class. So when you're older, you've got a pantyhose kink. Or that kind of thing. It's helpful because you're in control of it. It's almost like being able to walk into a nightmare and you're in control of it. Okay. You can stop it anytime you want. You can switch it up anytime you want. And it literally reworks the neural pathways in your brain that form those memories and those connections to trauma.
So
it's so cool. Like, I get all excited.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense because say you have this situation, you felt powerless. Now I have the power to invite this back into my life and replay it and completely change the narrative. Mm-hmm. That is very neural reprogramming.
It really is.
That's essentially neural reprogramming.
It is.
Wow.
And like with shame stuff. A lot of people have, we'll call them ravishment fantasies. It's probably one of the most common fantasy kink things because you are relieved of your guilt for wanting the thing because it is forced on you.
Okay, so being ravished. Mm-hmm. So you're a young farmhand ravishing me in a barn. That's the first thing I think of because I've seen too many.
I wasn't even told.
Okay. Oh, so so all blame is removed.
Yep.
And then you can fully let down and flow into it.
Yeah. And a lot of it is about that kind of release from guilt and shame. That almost all of this stuff is has those roots.
That is fascinating because, again, it's like working on a title for this episode will be interesting for people who are not like, that is evil and that's, like that's perversion instead of a
yeah. Like it goes back to religious trauma stuff. Like
why is it perverted?
Keep going back. Yeah. Exactly. Why is it perverted?
Why is it perverted?
Has it always been that way?
Mm-hmm.
You look at historical kink and stuff like that. A lot of other cultures have ritual sex in their religious like events.
Mm-hmm.
Like the ritual. What is it? The temple prostitutes in Athens and the Roman Empire. There was people have always kind of understood, I think, on some level, that sex is a powerful and healing thing. And so one of the ways that you control people is you take away their power to that source.
Yeah.
And you shame women and you control women and you turn it into something that you can apply fear to. And I think a lot of the kink community is all about that. We're like taking back our power. We are going, you know what? That's weird. It's not natural to repress certain things or to like not have any kind of sexual connection or experience until like all of a sudden you're married and it's okay now.
Yeah. Which is very shocking. I mean, just in my own life or hearing other friends, it's like you're told, no, no, no. And then birth us many children. It's like, and what's interesting is, the church, religion, what have you, is very strict with sexual freedom or power. But boy, I wonder if the church or a lot of its members have the highest rate of pornography addiction. It seemed like in the church that I left, every Sunday there was some kind of leader coming up and confessing that this is a big problem. This has been a long time addiction. There's an obsession with it. And what breaks my heart is that who do you go to talk about it without it instantly being like, well, you just don't do it. What if, I really feel for men with no one to talk them through a healthy sexual appetite and what it means to have, walk through this addiction or, I don't know how that conversation would get started.
It's really hard to have those conversations inside that religious container because you're still trying to use religious definitions to talk about it.
Yeah.
There's going to be that inherent shame. It's going to be, pray more, buckle down, don't be a sinner. You've got to be a leader for your family.
Yes.
Like you're somehow a failure if you're a sexual person. Yeah. And then the more you're like, I'm not going to think about the dancing girls in France. That whole, the more you focus on it as a problem or as something that is shameful, shame is a powerful thing.
Yeah.
And men, that was a big one in churches that I grew up in too. They would have classes for men on.
Yes. Or you'd go up for prayer and they'd purposely try to push you down so that you fell out in the spirit. But then they had somebody make these special blankets that they'd quickly throw over the women so that men weren't looking at this girl that, with her skirts up. It's like, we create this game. We're going to push you down, but we have a blanket to cover you in case anybody tries to look up your skirt. Like, what are we playing at here? I think it's so beautiful what you said about like being sexual makes me a failure. I've failed somehow at being a sexual person. Like, wow, if that's not let's step back and ask us, is that really valid? Wow.
Like almost all other religions are like nature-based, like earth-based, revolve around seasons and the changes. And part of that is, making babies. And in the spring, there's the There's the the bunnies, right?
Spring is frisky.
Exactly. And it's supposed to be, it's supposed to be a season of like growth and renewal, and it's all part of how things work, unless you're then living for this outside being who is telling you basically not to live for now, but to, put that stuff aside so that if you do things right, then whenever you die, you can have a real life.
Yeah.
Forever and ever and ever.
It's always in the by and by. It's never present.
Nope.
Yeah.
And it's all about kind of ignoring your present and ignoring your needs and your physicality. Like your physicality is a burden, something unnatural.
Yes.
Like you don't belong. We're of the world, we're in the world, but not of the world mentality.
Yeah.
And like, Alan Watts says, we belong here. Like the earth makes people like trees make apples. The earth peoples. We are part of all of this. We're supposed to be here. We're supposed to be in these like cool little fleshy suits that like nobody knows what to do with, really.
Right.
We still are discovering so much about our bodies and how it works and energy and all of this unseen stuff around us that affects us a lot.
Yeah.
And a lot of sex work and BDSM stuff, that sexual energy is a big part of it. That's creative force. That's the stuff that makes you want to go out and like make things and babies and art and feel things and experience your body in the world that you're created to be in. And the people that you're supposed to be around. And we have all of these amazing ways to heal and connect and create that we chop ourselves off at the legs at because we're not supposed. This is dirty. This is evil.
This is inherently dirty and evil.
Yeah, we're just gonna wait until we get up there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
but have some babies.
I know, right?
Produce.
Yeah, family line.
Yeah.
If you brought a rope, we can.
Yeah, I'll lift in the car, but I can go.
Yeah. I'm gonna freak out because I'm like, get in the cages.
It's so scary.
One of the worst punishments I had as a child was, Leilani, sit in that chair and do not move until I let you come out. And I'm like, no, I'm just like, don't trap me in the chair. I'm like trying to do everything I can to like stretch my boundaries.
Am I in the chair now?
Pretty much.
That's what we call brats in the kink community. You're a brat king because of that. Oh yeah, make me.
That I was a very people pleaser child too.
Yeah,
So are there situations or experiences you've had or things you've heard of where it went too far, or a dominatrix or a dom was not responsible?
I mean,
that's kind of
it's the human condition, right? That's one of the things that I really like about femdoms. Like the female domination it's more controlled. Okay. We're not as sexually like driven, as men are.
So it's called a femdom, and the opposite of that is called.
Dudes, I don't know. They're just male doms.
Male doms.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you've got trans doms and les doms and bears and daddies, and there's a whole
there's a whole list.
Trading card list.
Oh wow. But that's good to know that like a femdom is going to be softer.
Sometimes. If needed. I mean, you've also got the femdoms like wearing the whole like leather thing with the whips.
Okay.
Like, there's that stereotype.
Okay.
But there's also like there's everything.
There's
so much.
Yeah. It's not a
there's
very
nun doms.
Nun doms. Oh my gosh. So if you can imagine it, it probably exists.
Yep. And if it doesn't, if you like, just give it a shot.
Yeah. Create it. Huh?
That's right. Maybe it needs to be created.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so go get the rope. Oh,
all right. She picked the pink one.
So you are going to...
It's so scary.
You're going to tie my hands, I guess?
Mm-hmm.
Or okay, so walk through, you had mentioned earlier what you were going to lay some ground rules, or you were going to like comfort me. So tell me what you would normally say.
When I first like introducing this to somebody, especially with a little trepidation, you never know what it's going to bring up for them, right? So I like to start it out in a way where it's in front of them. They can see what's going on, you know, like feet or like hands, or like a body harness kind of thing. And they feel more in control of it. You can see what's going on. It's not really threatening. It's just kind of like informational.
Okay. Okay.
Consent. So, yellow light means we maybe need to like I don't want to like stop altogether, but this is like pinching here, or it's like
cutting circulation off or something like that.
You know, that doesn't know how to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Because that's another thing. I'm like, what about circulation? But apparently, there's a way to do it where you're not harming tissues.
And yeah, you're not gonna.
Okay.
Usually, it does happen sometimes if people don't understand like. Do you have a circulatory system?
Yeah, some people are not aware of their bodies or don't realize,
You want somebody to do this and know what they're doing and isn't going to like put you in a situation that's going to hurt you.
Okay.
Much.
And I'm looking at all your buttons.
Sometimes you do. Oh, I know. This is like a crazy jacket.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so, and then if I get freaked out for some reason, what do I say or what do you...
So yellow is, let's slow down.
Yellow is slow down.
Yellow is slow down. Red is, I'm done. Nope. You know, like, if you get triggered or if you're in pain.
And then it's up to you to immediately stop.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's our agreement.
Okay.
And you're trusting me that I will, you know, go along with that, you know?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Now, I've seen Kay's rope photography, and it gets full body, and this person is like tied up, and they're just, no, that would be, I'm like, no, I'd be freaking out. I feel like it'd be almost like a sweat lodge where you just go inward and you like breathe and focus. You know, I feel like it'd be almost like a meditative practice at that point for me to get through it.
It really can be.
Okay.
It's like any other tool, really. You know, like for some people, a cage is a cozy little spot, and they're going to sit in there in their little doggy outfit and read a book. And for some people, it's going to freak them out.
Yeah, it's going to be the chair.
Yeah,
for me.
So you're not gonna do that. Like, there's plenty of other stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So let's just start. We'll put your hands together. Hallelujah, sister.
How long does it for those full body? I mean, the ones that they were like suspended. It was a full body. Like, how long did that take?
It can take. You don't usually want it to take more than like 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Because then you get into like circulatory issues depending on the kind of tie and like, you know, what's being pressed on and what isn't. You doing all right?
Yeah, I'm good.
So this is kind of just like a handcuff, right?
Oh, okay.
And then from here you can let's go like the arm. It'll be pretty. I'm like, what's gonna look cool? I'm kind of surprised you're doing this for real. Like,
I mean,
I'm so proud of you. Look at you.
Hi, Mom. No, you're not. Like, no. Yeah, this would be like, you know.
But
I mean, I'm in there.
Yeah, you'd be all right. It's not really like.
No, I'm not. I'm not getting pinched or anything like that. But I see how you're.
Yeah, it's just kind of pretty and.
Okay. How would you walk through like? Okay, I'm coming to you because I have a hard time. I still don't speak kindly to myself. Go.
So I like to do inner child work with that. That's almost always inner child stuff. So sometimes I'll have them like bring a picture of themselves as a kid and we'll put it somewhere in the room And if they, I'm sorry, mistress. I'm so stupid. I was like, look at that child. Tell that to that child. Yeah, is she stupid? Is she fat? Is she ugly? Is she not worthy of love? Really? And then it kind of like changes your focus. Like that is you, and it's you end up kind of becoming a person that would have been there for that child in a way that you needed when you were that age.
Okay. So it's almost like stepping in as a parent.
Hallelujah, sister. So let's try
Here's
this.
the church. This is
Oh
no. Okay, yeah. Have you ever been like finally finished with someone? It's a masterpiece, and they're like, I have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, that's fun. I love messing with them. Like, what'd you say? You're ticklish?
Oh, you're terrible.
I am. I'm so mean. You are a gift. All right, so unwrap your gift.
Oh.
I like to make, it kind of makes you be present. Like, watch what's going on so that get yourself out.
Oh, so you can let people get themselves out.
There you go.
Wow. And so it can be kind of a beautiful, like,
object lesson.
Wow.
You allowed yourself to be put in this situation, right?
Uh-huh.
So as long as you're paying attention and you're present, you can usually get yourself out.
That is very powerful, Kay.
Isn't it cool?
Because even now I'm thinking, I can't. I'm committed to this.
No, you are in control of this.
Oh, wow, that's beautiful.
You did it!
Well, thank you. May I hug you?
Fuck yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much
You're
for this and for
welcome.
offering this insightful, unconventional, but very much powerful mode of healing.
Right. It really is. Like, it gets a bad rap sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
But
I just never know what I'm going to learn when I talk to people that live a different lifestyle from me. Just the whole concept of how present, intentional, how clear on communication you have to be. I would have not considered BDSM being one of those arenas where this is practiced so carefully. And it, if anything, can be applied in other areas of life, especially the concept of being tied up and getting yourself out. How many times in life are we stuck and we are resilient and find our way to the other side, even if it's in maybe not rope play, but it's taking a 10-mile run or lifting heavy weights, doing something physically exhausting, or going on a silent meditation retreat, things that are a little bit more demanding of your presence. Those too show us that we can do hard things. So, like I said, you never know what we're going to learn on this podcast, but I'm so thankful for people that are willing to share, and for those of you that are willing to, even if you don't agree with it, sit and listen and be open to just hearing another person's perspective and then taking from it what you will. So thank you so much for joining me on this interesting series with Kay, and we will see you next time.
Thank you so much for listening. Join us on Instagram at SWUT Podcast. That's SWUTPODCAST for further conversations, insights, and behind-the-scenes content from today's episode. And for the complete viewing experience, tune into Shall We Unpack This on YouTube. We'll see you next week.